What's up? It's that weird camera thing again. Anyway, what if I go this way? No, that doesn't work either. My name is McKissack. I'm from the Shaler North Hills Library, and I'm glad to be here with you. Last night we did have some internet problems. Well, I had an internet problem. I don't know what was up with it. But Mr. Asparagus told me, just, take a break from it. And when I came back this morning, it was okay. So that was okay. But last night, we read a book by the incredible author who's no longer with us, Patricia McKissack. But this is the one. We're going to read another Patricia McKissack book. And illustrated by Giselle Potter, and the pictures are just so great. But this is the first one. This is the first one that I've ever read, and it introduced me to Patricia McKissack. And I just love this one. Have you ever had a situation where, maybe your parents or your grandparents, they told you always tell the truth, okay? Always tell the truth. But then, is it easy to always tell the truth? I mean, if somebody says to you, do you like my voice when I sing? And it's me who's asking the question? I mean, what do you say? Do you say, no, missing, you really can't sing? Because that would be the truth. But would that hurt my feelings? Well, I don't know if it would, because enough people have told me that I'm used to it. But you know what I'm saying. Is there... Well, you know what? This young woman, she finds out how hard it is to tell the truth. This is called The Honest to Goodness Truth. Again, written by Patricia McKissack, illustrated by Giselle Potter. And maybe you've been in her situation. Maybe you understand what Libby's going through here. Libby hurried out the door and down the porch steps. Did you feed and water old boss? Mama called from her sewing room window. Libby stopped at the gate. Yes, Mama. She was surprised at how easy the lie slid out of her mouth, like it was greased with warm butter. Mama stopped sewing Virginia Washington's wedding dress and came outside. Libby dropped her head and wouldn't look her mother in the eye. Are you sure? Mama asked real stern-like. Speak the truth and shame the devil. Libby opened her mouth, but Mama put a finger in the air as a signal for her to stop. Libby Louise Sutton, I'll ask you once more and again, did you feed and water old boss? Libby's stomach felt like she'd swallowed a handful of chicken feathers. Her eyes commenced to fill with water, and her bottom lip quivered, and then, taking a deep breath and gulping hard, she owned up to her lie. I was going to do it as soon as I got back from jumping rope with Ruthie Mae. Well, Libby felt a lot better, even though Mama punished her double for not tending to old boss. Libby couldn't go play with Ruthie Mae, and for lying, she had to stay on the porch the rest of the day. It was the first time Libby had lied to Mama, and as far as she was concerned, it was going to be the last. From now on, only the truth, she decided. So Libby started telling the truth come Sunday morning. All the children from Briarsville were gathered outside the small church waiting on Sunday school to begin. Everybody was admiring Ruthie Mae's new dress and matching hat when Libby came skipping up. Morning, everybody. Morning, Ruthie Mae. She spoke all nice. I like your outfit. It's real pretty, but you have a hole in your sock. All eyes went from the hat to the dress to the hole. Meanwhile, Libby skipped up the steps and inside the church without ever noticing the hurt on her best friend's face. Service ended, and same as always, Libby asked Ruthie Mae to walk home. No, no, and no again, Ruthie Mae glared at her. Libby was purely surprised. What'd I do? You told the whole world that I had a hole in my sock. It was the truth, Libby pronounced, feeling satisfied. It was plain mean, replied Ruthie Mae, and she hurried away. Libby looked at the idea from the outside in and then from the inside out as she walked home alone. By the time she trudged up her steps, she was still confused. The next morning, Libby joined a group of friends on the way to school. Did you do your geography homework? Willie asked Libby. It was easy, she answered. Not for me, Willie shook his head. I didn't understand it, so I didn't do it. First thing in class, Libby started waving her hand. Me, Miss Jackson, me, Miss Jackson. When the teacher called on her, Libby announced, Willie don't got his geography homework. Doesn't have his homework, corrected Ms. Jackson. No, ma'am, he don't. Libby was pleased with herself. Willie gave her an ugly look. Why'd you tell on me? He whispered as he headed to Ms. Jackson's desk to explain. With certainty, she whispered back, All I did was tell it like it is, so there. And she folded her hands neatly in her lap. Before lunchtime, Libby had told a lot of truths. She reminded everybody how Daisy had forgotten her Christmas speech and cried in front of all the parents. She told how Charles Setta had gotten a spanking for stealing peaches off Miss Stacy's tree. And the whole class knew that Thomas didn't have lunch money and had to borrow some from Ms. Jackson. By the time school was out, hardly anyone would talk to her. Why are y'all so mad at me? Libby asked her classmates as they started home without her. On Libby's way home, she wondered why her stomach felt as fluttery as it did when she told the lie. I promised Mama I would tell the truth no matter how much it hurt, she reassured herself glumly. And that's all I've done. Before Libby knew it, she was in front of Miss Tuzzleberry's vine-covered cottage. The woman was in a rocking chair, gliding back and forward and fanning herself with a hand-folded fan. How do, Libby Louise? She called in her sing-song voice. What's that sad look you're wearing on such a pretty day? Libby jumped right up with what was bothering her. Can the truth be wrong? Oh, no, Miss Tuzzleberry said, fanning faster. The truth is never wrong. Always, always tell the truth. Oh, that's what I thought, Libby said, a smile of relief now lighting up her face. Miss Tuzzleberry leaned over the railing to pluck a bloom from one of the vines that grew all over her yard and up her house. Don't you think my garden is lovely? Libby thought on it. Ordinarily, she would have just said yes, for fear of sounding sassy. But that wasn't the truth. So polite as you please, she answered, Miss Tuzzleberry, honest and truly, your yard looks like a jungle. Well, I declare, Miss Tuzzleberry gasped. Don't be mad, Libby pleaded, but it was too late. Miss Tuzzleberry rushed inside her house and slammed the door. Even though Mama was busy putting the finishing touches on Virginia Washington's wedding dress, she still took time to listen to Libby's problem. I feel something awful. My friends don't like me no more. Any more, repeated Mother. No, they don't. And just 'cause I told the truth. The girl sighed deeply. Handing her a needle to thread, Mama asked gently, Are you sure they're mad at you for telling the truth? I think so, said Libby. Willie was mad as a hornet when I told Miss Jackson he didn't have his homework, and Miss Tuzzleberry got plenty upset when I told her that her garden looked like a jungle. Mama smiled. Oh, I see. Then, putting down her work, she took Libby's hand, saying, sometimes the truth is told at the wrong time, or in the wrong way, or for the wrong reasons. And that can be hurtful. But the honest-to-goodness truth is never wrong. Then Mama went back to stitching and pulling and stitching and pulling. Libby walked to the barn to feed and water old Boss, all the time trying to get an understanding of her mother's words. Just then, Virginia Washington sashayed out of the fields and past the barn, coming for the final fitting of her wedding dress. As she watched Libby brush old Boss, Virginia burst into laughter. That horse is older than Black Pepper, she said, shaking her head. I doubt you could get $1 for that flea-ridden swayback. And she flounced off toward the house. Don't say those things about old Boss, Libby called after her, throwing her arms around the horse's neck. She knew he wasn't the fine carriage horse he once had been, but why did Virginia have to rub it in? Now Libby thought back on her own truth-telling, and Mama's words suddenly became crystal clear. The next day, Libby caught up with her friends on the way to school. She told Ruthie Mae, you did have a hole in your sock, but I could have whispered it to you instead of hollering it out for everybody to hear. I'm sorry. Ruthie Mae smiled. You finally got it, she said. Libby apologized to Willie, too. I should have let you tell Miss Jackson about your own homework. It was unfair. Besides, nobody asked me in the first place. That's all right, but hey, he added, do you think you could help me with my geography homework? No problem, Libby said. Later, Libby talked to all the other victims of her truth-telling. But there was one more person she had to see. On the way home, she set it straight for Miss Tuzzleberry's house. Libby found her neighbor out front, down on all fours, pulling up flowers and snatching up vines by the roots. When Miss Tuzzleberry saw her, she wiped her brow with the back of her hand and flashed a full smile. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings yesterday, Libby said. Libby Louise, you were right, Miss Tuzzleberry replied. This place had gone completely and uncontrollably wild. But you were so mad at me. Miss Tuzzleberry waved a dismissing hand. The truth is often hard to chew, but if it's sweetened with love, then it's easier to swallow. Libby really did understand. She picked up a hoe and began helping. Things are really looking pretty good around here, she said. And that was the honest-to-goodness truth. So what do you think, my friends? Have you ever been in a situation like that where somebody asked you a question and you thought, oh, if I tell them the truth, they might have their feelings hurt? Or have you ever been in a situation where somebody told you the truth and it hurt your feelings? Something to talk about with your super special grown-up, because I'll tell you what, even as super special grown-ups, we go through the same thing. Yeah. But I love that. The truth, when sweetened with love, makes it easier to swallow. And if there's one thing I know y'all are good at, it's loving. Patricia C. McKissack, another one of her great books. My friends, since you have a beautiful brain that helps you to love, would you please give it a kiss? Since you have a loving heart, and that beats with kindness and sweetness, give it a kiss, please. And look in the mirror, look in the mirror, look in the mirror, look in the mirror. Give yourself some loving. Say, hey, good looking, because you're all good looking, just the way you are. See you tomorrow. Later, dudes and chickies.